Hear this? Okay. Maybe some people will come in here or not. We'll see. Let me know if you can hear me or not. All right. Looks like the mic level changed a little bit here. Let me see if I can fix that. We got about 5 minutes to go before we get started. Waiting for someone to jump in here and figure out if you can actually hear this stuff very well or not. Just got this new Logitech camera, and I'm learning how to use that. And I guess it has a built-in microphone, and hopefully that is working okay. I don't do. Boo, 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 boo. So let me know if the levels are going to be good enough. Just going to figure this out. Trying to figure out how to change mic levels here. We'll get started in a few minutes. I mean, this pretty crazy article about the fans. I think are doing a pretty good job of trying to spread the word about Alita, even though it got crushed kind of in the press. I think before it even got started, it was like a three-way F fest trying to make sure that the movie was declared a failure before it had come out, or it was suggested that it was going to lose a bunch of money before it came out. And this is competition to see whose movie is going to make most amount of money. So imagine there's probably a lot of crazy backdoors dealings going on, and people getting paid off, and especially people getting paid off to write articles that are maybe not so flattering about what's going on with the actual film, and possibly lying about the numbers. I mean, I know it made a 408 million. It was the last thing that I heard. So I would think that that's probably is right. So I'm just looking at this. This. You guys have this. We've got about 1 more minute to go. We'll break down the behind the scenes movie events, and I'll break down the contest um, for the jacket. Getting ready to go. Finish reading this article. I got this new camera, so the new mic. Hopefully soon. That'll be the next thing that we'll end up doing. Right now, it's just the camera is new. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I think there's one person in here. I was reading this pretty cool article about what's been going on with the Alita Battle Angel. I don't know. I consider it kind of controversy that the movie was predicted to lose money and kind of, you know, canned from 3 different directions before it even came out. So I think what this article was saying that now that it's up to like 404.8 million, and they need to make around 500 million for this to be considered somewhere in the profit range to go ahead and make Alita 2. And there's like 30, there's tons of Alita books that you can make more movies out of them. I know that we want to make at least 3. Whether that's going to happen, I have no idea. But that's what I remember hearing briefly from around. But you don't know if that's rumor or anything. It's hard to predict. So I'm not going to be on record as saying that that's the truth. But that's what a rumor was like around the set. That, of course. But everyone's trying to go for a big trilogy anyway to try to make sure that this stuff is catches on. Hopefully, turns into a successful franchise, and one day it could be Star Wars worthy and make the 9 films or however many films they're going to try to get out of Star Wars. So I mean, who knows? I want to know. Let's see who's. I want to make sure the mic is okay. Like I said, what I have here is just the Logitech. Hopefully, I'm going to get a nice, standing mic and everything soon, and do like a lot more of these, live shows talking about whatever I've been working on. And I'm always working in Austin. I'm working in Austin right now on another project for Robert Rodriguez that's called Heroics, but that's all I can say about it. It's you always have to sign the NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So Heroics is already on the net. They've already talked about the characters, but you can search that. That's going to be, I think, pretty interesting. That's a Netflix show that's going to come out. I don't know when. I assume it's going to come out next year sometime, and hope for the best on that one. And then, in a dream world, right after that, we go ahead and start working on Alita 2. But as I was discussing earlier, I think that they have to make about another 100 million on DVD sales for this to get into the area where they can go ahead and make a sequel or sequels. So I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the behind the scenes type stuff. Now it's pretty readily available. So when we started the film, it was probably I think what I heard was a year or a year and a half before we started shooting is when they started construction on the outdoor set that's in Austin, Texas, at Troublemaker Studios. That's where Robert Rodriguez has his main headquarters, is right over there in Austin, and he's made the majority of all of his films have always been filmed in Austin at this studio, on the green screen or the backlight. Like when I first met Robert, he kind of was like, see this right in here, like in the corner. This is where I shot Sin City, you know, and it's in one of his stages, and it was probably like a 50, 60, or maybe 70 square foot area where he shot the whole movie. And so, you know, he's really, really well versed in dealing with CGI effects. I think that this time around, this had to have been the pinnacle of, well, I think it's the pinnacle of CGI currently. I think Marvel has its own look, but I think really what happened with the Weta CGI stuff was super amazing. I was really happy to be part of it. I also played a guy in the movie called Exploder, the guy with the like a orange chest piece and a hand cannon, and we had filmed all that stuff. Was basically all you know, green screen. And there's the scene where he's talking to us about killing Alita. Was, you know, I think most of the guys in mocap suits, and then I had on a full costume, and I think a couple other people had on partial costumes, or a mix of costumes and mocap suits. So that was how that stuff was shot, and most of the other stuff from the perspective of the wardrobe department, which is where I work. I was my credit in the credits is specialty costumes. So what happened was, I believe it was about 4 to 3 months before we started shooting. They brought me in, and that's the main. Well, Robert Rodriguez work under her, and so they brought me in because they already knew I was like way into Star Wars and robot stuff. And what I did for straight was make nothing but cyborg kind of crazy, you know, strappage and stuff. Oh, there's John DiBiase. Hey, buddy. Glad someone is coming by to hang out. This is a, you know, more of a test for this mic, so I hope it's not. Hope it's not too gnarly. So, John, maybe you have some questions, or else I'm just going to rattle through the whole film. You know, from what I remember, and I mean, hopefully you saw Alita. I would hope, but I was kind of explaining from the perspective of the wardrobe department. Of course, like they bring me in. I was a specialty costumer. I basically was making these cyborg straps. Oh, cool! I'm glad you liked it. So for 3 months or 2 months, I made nothing but a bunch of straps and stuff that you can barely ever see it in the movie. The idea was that everyone has cyborg parts, so like leg, face, arm, half of a chest, or whatever. But if they had, you know, like an arm or a limb, they wore like, you know, prosthetics today. So, you know, we were creating I was creating a bunch of these kind of strap systems and a bunch of variations, because you figure in the world of Alita, there's like, you know, 4, 5, 6, you know, 20 different, you know, makers of parts. You know, Doc Ito is the best, supposed to be the best, but other people make the delineators and the straps, and these, you know, obviously these cyborg parts run on batteries, so almost impossible to see in the film. A lot of the guys had these. It looked basically like a big solenoid or a starter off an old and battery source. So a lot of these guys, you know, you have to have your arm or your cyborg part. You have to have all the strappage to hang it on, because you have to picture that it's even though it's high tech, it's still probably heavier than a regular limb. And so you would have that. You would have the battery source, and then we run like all kinds of pretend wiring and all kinds of other stuff. And like I said, you don't get to see very much of that. So what we ended up doing, though, although most of the guys were wearing gray suits, and then they would obviously do the CI over the gray suits. So, for instance, in Ambush Alley, they were in gray suits. Derek Mears and I can't remember the other girl's name. The girl with the red cloak. She was in Dust Till Dawn too. We would make their costumes, and they would wear the costumes, and the costumes would go ahead and they would be scanned in the costumes. But on set, they're still in a gray suit or a partial gray suit. So sometimes they had on the piece of the costume that we had made, and they would film like that. Sometimes the piece of the costume was just kept in the computer as like reference, and so they would piece them back together. It was more like, I guess, for lighting reference and all that. And if some of you guys are familiar with special effects, some of you might not be, and I don't know how much you've read. But for instance, when I was playing Exploder, so what you do is they need to scan you. You're basically in a big jungle gym, like a semicircle, and I think there's 45 or 46 or 48 cameras, and they're filming you, and you go through like a series of movements, and they're doing all the scanning, and by the time you walk out, there's you, like there's a little 3D model of you on the computer. I can already start manipulating it. Obviously, like it's like I think it's called they call them the grays. It's all gray. There's no color, but there's detail, and they put that in the computer, and that's like their animation reference that then gets like refined and actually animated and look a lot better later on. So that was like part of that process of becoming a character. So when I was doing my scenes for Exploder, I was explaining earlier that the scene where we come in and get told about our assignment to assassinate Alita, wearing like a regular costume. I had prosthetics that were done by K&B, Greg Nicotero's company, the same company that does all the Walking Dead stuff. They had to take all my regular tattoos off. They covered it up with makeup, and then on top of that, they put some new tattoos, which I actually preferred. They had this. It's kind of hard to see, but they have like weird circuit board kind of imprinted, mirrored circuit board tattoo on my neck, on my forehead. Although you can't see it because there was a hat there, you can see it kind of sticking down. I had a giant death's head moth, a really big one. They put in like a fake nose piercing. They put in fake big ass earrings, and the jaw. The jaw was like kind of like two parts. So they would paint kind of like a metal understructure with some like dark and light areas, and create the basic shape. And then on top of that, they put like a piece of a semi-translucent silicone on top of that. And you can't hardly tell, but the silicone prosthetic, or the clear part, ends over here, but the prosthetic like went all the way up to here. So there's like a patch of skin, regular skin color that would blend into the weird robo jaw or cyborg chomper, whatever you want to call it. And that was pretty much my part in the film. And the other thing that I think is worth mentioning that was really cool, man, we spent so much time. It was me, and there's a guy named Adam, who's a PA, and we were put in charge of making the cloak for Gurishka. And in the movie, it's I believe it's got to be CGI. Um, at at the end, because the way he flips it off, it's too the way they did the material is too light looking. Not like they were trying to match what we had made the actual cape out of was a really heavy army canvas that the costume designer had in her workshop, and we took that and we tore it up and made tons of holes in it, ripped it up into tiny bits, and then put it all back together. So when we were making Grishka's cloak, it was for a stand-in stuntman that he was on stilts, and then on top of his shoulders as well, he had like I guess it was called the Grishka kind of like extension that was shoulders that were super wide and kind of this Grishka head mask. I think that he was able to see through. I think it was the mouth or the nose. I don't remember. But I think it was about 15 feet tall because I remember we had to get on a ladder every time we wanted to put the cloak on and off. The cloak was, I don't know, I think it was probably about 15 pounds of heavy duty army canvas that we waxed and distressed. And man, it's freaking smelled terrible. Um, so for Ambush Alley, when Garushka kind of comes out and then flips his cape off, at least the stuff that we had filmed, and I need to watch the movie again, was all stuntman, and I can't remember if it was all replaced with pure CGI or not. I think the only shot that survives that is actual real footage, from what I remember, I think is like an over the shoulder. You see like the top of his head and part of his shoulder. That I think that was the only actual real part that survived. So that was my experience on set. Besides, the only other thing that I saw on set was there's two other things. I saw a lot of the skate footage when they're playing motoball, when they're not at the arena, but when it's the kids in the street learning how to play, and they're showing Alita the rules, and that had like tons and tons of crazy harnesses and rigging and wire work, and that shot for like days and days and days. And the other part that I saw that I really liked was where you just couldn't wrap your mind around it was the moon battle, the outer space battle scenes, because that's all done on green screen. It's all done with mocap suits. It's all done with giant pieces of foam that just represent different pieces of the architecture of the moon. Or they actually did the scenes where they did the sewer battle. Like most of that was stunt guys on giant pieces of foam and stuff just jumping around, so they could get all the perspective like kind of right. And then can't remember what else I saw. But talk about the level of detail in the city set is mind blowing. The outdoor part, so that's built on the actual back lot in Austin, Texas, and so that thing was, I don't know, it's probably like 3 or 4 blocks, one way, and then two or three other blocks kind of the other way, with some different kind of features. Like there was a bridge, and there was the fountain, the place where they have the actual skate, or they're skating and showing Alita how to play motorball. There's that. The kind of decrepit like temple is built there. There is no sewer anything, I don't think. The Kansas bar was built inside one of the stages, and the whole Kansas bar was real. There's no set extensions. I think the only CGI stuff was that, if you looked outside the front door, I think they added some stuff there. But otherwise, most of my stuff had to do with like working in the wardrobe department, constructing, the various stuff. So what I did besides making all of these crazy harnesses for all the people in the city who had cyborg enhancements was make a lot of like kind of offbeat fashion stuff, but more with a recycled kind of look, because they don't have like a lot of resources obviously that are on the below. They're not from above, so they're getting like basically the hand-me-downs. And that's why Nina had decided that none of the people, if you look in the film, none of the people have, no one has big flip collars that lives down on the lower part in the city, because, material is probably at a, salvaged, and you don't have like a lot of excess. So you wouldn't really worry about collars, because the seems like it's kind of semi-tropical. I think it's supposed to be in South America somewhere, at least kind of in this version of what's going on in the world. Um, so I would make a lot of like these vests and hand stitch a lot of crazy stuff together. Over by my mom's house in the creek, I found like an old gross camera bag, like a Canon camera bag. I tore that all apart and made weird pockets on jeans, and made some weird pockets on a jacket for one character. We did just a lot of these harnesses, a lot of jackets, just adding like boops and bops and like Nieners or Greeblies or whatever you want to call them. So when I was working there, I'd work right down the hall from prop fabrication, where they made all the rocket hammers and the Damascus blades and all that other stuff. So from my cubby hole, I could walk out to Suzanne and Doug and people in prop fab and see what random tchotchkes they had that they were molding up, and I would try to get a bunch of rubber versions of stuff that I could put on costumes. So the question here from John is, James Cameron did come by, and I think he came by for a couple days, and because I was in the workshop, I didn't see him. But when I went back to work the other day, people were saying, I think on Reddit, that there's some weird rumor that James Cameron was the guy who played Exploder in the film instead of me. So I don't know if this looks like James Cameron from here down. I don't think so. But that was like a weird rumor, because the prop master was saying that was something on Reddit. I don't have Reddit, so I don't know what Reddit is really. I've got YouTube. I've got there's at Todd Junkers on Instagram. Oh, the main bad guy at the end is Edward Norton. But you thought that was James Cameron, possibly. I don't know if he does cameos personally. Maybe he's done a cameo that I don't know about, but I really, really wanted to meet James Cameron, but I missed him. Hopefully next time. I know that he's in New Zealand, probably for the next however long it is, working on the Avatar films. So the other thing I want to make sure to talk about before this, I'm going to probably talk for about like an hour or so, and hopefully a lot of you guys will watch this on a rerun. I'm trying to build up my channel, so please leave a comment like John did. Please subscribe. I'm going to use this channel to hopefully generate some more income, so I can do more fun projects. The other project that I know you guys had seen, in progress, was the Akira, motorcycle costume that I want to make. And so, subscribe to the channel. You'll be able to keep up on that. What's going to happen with that? I'd briefly doing the Akira outfit, redesigning it in my own way. It's going to take, I don't know, I predict probably like another 6 months probably to get it done. I have to do it in my spare time. Then we're going to do a photo shoot. There's a guy at One Punch Mickey. He's on Instagram. He is going to be our model, and we've already started talking to some people about using a replica of the motorbike from Akira. And what we'll do is then after that we'll do another raffle, and we're going to raffle away the costume to someone who hopefully will love it and give it a good home. But that I really want to mention the raffle that's going on right now is the raffle to go ahead and get the Hugo coat from the movie, a replica of the Hugo coat from the movie. So what happened, to give you the backstory about that, and make sure to go get a ticket. I know John, I think John has one already. Make sure to go get a raffle ticket. They're only $20. I need to sell at least 2,000 of these raffle tickets to put into effect my master plan, which is with 2,000 ticket sales, what I can do is there'll be enough money to go, and I will fly anywhere on the planet if I sell 2,000 tickets to go and measure whoever the winner is. Because, we have to do a series of measurements to get this jacket right. People have different opinions. What's loose? What's tight? What feels good in the shoulders, what doesn't. So you have to get all these measurements, and the best thing that you can do is have a discussion with the client about what they like and what they consider to be too tight and what they consider to be too loose, too short, too long, etc. So, please spread the word. So this is going to go on until July 28th. So I have been talking to some other big-time YouTubers that I know about doing some more interviews about Alita as we lead up to the time the DVD comes out, and hopefully we'll be able to meet at least the goal of the 20,000, 2,000. Tickets sold. So that means I'd be able to come to you, take your measurements, make a jacket, mail it back. Okay, so why do you give a rat's ass if we sell 2,000? Because if we get to 2,000, then everyone's going to get the Exploder Lives t-shirt that I'm going to design and print. So if you watch Alita carefully, like I did, and then I asked Robert Rodriguez as well, my character doesn't get killed. So Exploder is still alive. Will he come back in the sequel? I don't know. Would I like to come back in the sequel? Of course. Of course. In a three-wheeled form with, working arm cannon, I hope. But if we get the 2,000 tickets sold, I'm going to make everyone a t-shirt, and I'll mail you a t-shirt. I don't care if you're in Iceland, France, or wherever. If you're in Sweden, God help you. Man, I've had the biggest problems with Swedish mail, but we're going to make it happen and find a way to make it happen. So that's what's going to happen if we get the 2,000 tickets sold. Everyone's going to get an Exploder Lives t-shirt for participating. With the 2,000 tickets sold, the winner also is going to get some Alita stuff. And by that, I mean Alita stuff that I don't think anyone else has because it came from set. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to give you much details about what these pieces are, but you're not going to be able to get them anywhere else. I haven't seen them online. So I'm going to present to you some collectibles as well as a jacket. So if I get to the 4,000 ticket mark, which is where I really want to get to, 4,000 ticket mark means that when I get done, I'm going to then fly back out to the winner's location and try it on, make sure everything is good, give them a handshake or whatever, and then I'll be gone. So what does that mean for anyone else? Why would you give a rat's ass about the 4,000? Okay. So if that happens, what I'm going to do is 4,000 people will get the Exploder Lives t-shirt. All right. So we'll do that. And then if we get to 4,000, all 4,000 people are going to get the Junker Designs patch collection. And working on some new patches right now. But basically what it's going to be, the patch collection will be 3 patches and a sticker. And you'll get the t-shirt, and you'll get a thank you note, and I'm going to write it by hand. So I'll be writing and writing and writing all day long. But 4,000 shouldn't be a big deal. I don't know why that would be a big deal to sell 4,000 tickets at $20 each. To win the jacket normally online is it's 2,049. You know, it's a tribute to Blade Runner. So to give you the history of the jacket, so at one time there was a contest called Envisioning the Future. It was a Blade Runner contest that was tied to the release of the final, I think it was called the Final Cut. And so Envisioning the Future contest, you would design different things. You know, people were, I think, doing art, but there was a section for fashion. And I had designed these Blade Runner cop jackets that I thought they would wear, like, you know, more on the street, like more gritty guys that were kind of part of like a light assault squad, like maybe like a SWAT type team. You know, I felt like the cop outfits in the original Blade Runner looked like those guys were street cops, like more traffic cops, and not so much cops that did dirty work. So I wanted to design something for those guys, and so that's what's in the store that you can see the Blade Runner jacket, and that's why it's $2,049 because of the Blade Runner Part 2 a tribute there. So anyway, I won that contest, and they sent me a really cool Drew Struzan poster, and it's on my wall in the office in Los Angeles. And I think I got like, you know, $2,000 in a form of gift certificate to Best Buy, I think it was. But anyway, like, I have a, you know, an iPod I still don't know how to use, and yeah. So that was where the jacket came about and why I designed the jacket. So flash forward, you know, many years later, I meet there's a shop owner I meet. You know, I start selling jackets in his store. Um, the jackets start selling. I'm requested to make some bigger jackets, bigger size jackets for this client. Eventually, he tells me the client is Robert Rodriguez. So before I knew Robert, I was selling him a bunch of these jackets, and you can see him in, you know, numerous pictures with these Junker jackets on that are, you know, pretty abused and you know, like sanded and splattered. You know, it's called the Junker Designs Officer's Jacket. Eventually tracked him down, and then just started working on films with Robert. And then I moved back, you know, to Texas after, you know, there's this film after film. And so I still have my place in LA, go back and forth. And, you know, he's like, hey, man, what about that, you know, that one jacket? And he brought his out. He has a Blade Runner jacket that I totally forgot that he had. And he was like, yeah, I think, you know, this, but we'll make some changes. So Robert and Nina, I don't know who, you know, them as the creative, whatever. So the variation that you see in the film is the differences. Like this is how you know what the differences are between the Blade Runner jacket and the other one now that we call it the Troublemaker jacket. The differences are that the Blade Runner jacket has racing stripes on one sleeve only, The Hugo jacket has the racing stripes on both sleeves. Okay. The other thing is the Hugo jacket, pretty hard to see in the film, has tons of grease and oil and stuff like dripping down the arms and down the chest, and it's kind of splattered there. But because of the way the film's shot, you don't see it quite as much. The biggest difference is the collar. So if you look at the Blade Runner jacket, the collar is like motocross. It's the thin strappy um, collar. It's got snaps on it. And what we ended up doing is there's the small collar, there's a zipper, and then there's another collar. So it's really hard to see, but that's the thing you guys should know when you look at it. If you're making your own jacket, is that there's two collars on there. It's really hard to see. I don't consider any of this stuff is not a secret. So if you want to write to me and ask me any questions about that jacket, I don't mind letting you know. Like, I think the cosplay stuff that I've seen that's come out that's made by a certain company is it's awful. The jacket looks awful. So I know like there's cosplay people out there now making hopefully much better stuff. And if you have questions, I'll certainly help you out. So those are the main differences. So that's what I'm raffling off, and it's going to be 2 fit to your size, and that's what I'm pushing. So what I'll probably do is see you guys again in a couple days, and let's do an update. But for now, make sure and subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment. Make sure to share this as much as you can. Tell your friends about it, and I'll see you next time.